Greetings, my fellow intellectuals and bookworms. It's time for another book review. First of all, I'm going to give a brief introduction, even though this book really needs no introduction, if only because some people are either A, living under a rock, or B, have not been paying attention. But I'm sure even then you've heard of the TV series Game of Thrones, it's about politics and medieval times, and it's very made in the U.S., from the U.S., and even if you live in a third world country, you probably have access to it, if not through bootlegged and piracy, which personally I'm perfectly okay with, if only because they make so much goddamn fucking money. If they can't make money because of piracy, that's their own fault, and clearly that means they're spending way too much overhead. And if they can't essentially stay in business through a free market with piracy, then clearly they don't deserve to stay in business, and piracy restrictions only serve to keep them in business. But I'm very pragmatic on this. I don't want my books I'm writing to be stolen and reprinted cheaply or unauthorized used in China, but I also think that copyright abuse by Disney is pretty bad. But basically it's about not the power games associated with getting into power. Now, it's based on a series of books called A Song of Fire and Ice, and I picked up one of the books because I was told by my English teacher to read it to understand fantasy tropes. And also, and even though I dropped the class, I bought the book. So I'm going to give you the first one, which is called A Game of Thrones. Again, each and every one of his books are thick. In this case, 830-something pages of it. And it's well worth getting the second one and getting the next one. So far there's, I believe, 6 or 8 books, and he's still got 4 more to write. But they take like a year and a half to write and actually print. So people who say that, for example, he's not writing... I prefer Tolkien because at least he finished his books. First of all, he died before he finished his books, and his son finished it, so that's not entirely true. Second of all, The Lord of the Rings, basically, aside from being one of the best-selling books of all time, it's really just a regurgitation of the basic fantasy stories about the evil king, blah, blah, and blah, 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 and so on, which we've been hearing for millennia, and which, at this point, has not only become a trope, it's become something you analyze in literature class as the hero's journey. And there's a reason why certain books of certain genres all sound the same. I've read the book Eragon, and I read the book The Elfstones and the Sword of Shannara, and they both are very, very fucking similar. Now, granted, I read those when I was in 7th or 8th grade, but since I have a photographic memory, I remember them, and they were, aside from Eragon having more action spread out through the whole thing, and the Elfstones and the Sword of Shannara having more boring shit throughout it, and it taking a while to slog through, there's not much difference. And aside from the fact that the Elfstones were 1,100 pages, the first Eragon book was like 500 and something, and the fact that that there was a movie made that was, according to critics, utter shit for Eragon, there's not much difference between the two. Both tell about an evil Dark Lord, blah, 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 who the hero must stop. Hero is someone unimportant. In this case, he works for his father's tavern when his father mysteriously died of an illness that was sweeping through. A mysterious stranger appears in the pub and tells him, "You are the chosen one." Whereas at least in Eragon, he's a humble farmer who manages to find an egg which crashes to Earth somehow, which is actually a better origin story, and it's because an elf who set off like years ago to find the chosen one happens to see it crash in the distance. And yes, even though it's coincidences, it makes a lot more sense than the the mentor figure just shows up out of nowhere as if he has some sort of BS radar to tell when the Chosen One's around. And yes, both involve magic and stuff, but the rules of magic, or at least if you use magic to make it so you can find the Chosen One whenever you want, it creates more problems than it solves, because one, it's bullshit with the rules of magic. Two, it shouldn't work that way because it's a plot convenience. 3, it serves as plot armor. And 4, by the same token, the Dark Lord, who's always way more fucking powerful, should also know where the Chosen One is and should be able to use, in this case, his ability to waste entire cities to more or less do the equivalent of the US Army dropping a nuke on the village and completely eradicating the guy. It just makes no fucking sense otherwise. So, my point is that on this aside about Token and how a lot of fantasy is the same, Eragon at least made more sense. Whereas in this case, no character is, for example, actually evil. They're shades of gray. Whereas, and yes, I did read like a few pages of Lord of the Rings because when I was younger, I was into some fantasy, at least if it was good. But honestly, it's kind of like Harry Potter. Now, plenty of people say Harry Potter's good, but I say it's a complete shit story. I did read all 3 Twilights when I was 12, so maybe I don't know anything about taste, but I was fucking 12. I get a pass, and even then I thought they were fucking cringeworthy and shit. And I read Divergent, and it was some of the worst writing ever. So, my point is, in this instance, it's good writing because no character is evil, and even people in the TV show like Cersei, they're not necessarily evil. Not only do they believe they're right, but their actions are more shades of gray. So, yeah, I'm gonna recommend you buy A Game of Thrones, and I'll probably get the next book in the series. Now, so 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely support your local bookstore. And in terms of next book reviews, I got one summarizing Sandor's ideas in the Targaryen history, but honestly, it's more in terms of lore, and honestly, I should make a lore video on that. So in terms of other videos that I may have coming for you, a Pandemic Watch episode 3 or 4, well, a new Pandemic Watch is probably coming out. I'm going to do soon. I may do one on weapons in the apocalypse, and yes, before you tell me that I already did one, this is my channel, and in all fairness to me, YouTube screwed up the My Videos thing, so to actually see my older videos where I'd make it, I would have to click on oldest first, and then it's just a pain in the ass. Honestly, they should stop oldest, newest, most popular and stuff, and they should just have a button that says all. But that's a different story. So, if I make some, and I believe I did cover vehicles in the apocalypse, but honestly, the main part where this, if I've already covered it, this will be different, is it'll be covering myths and shit you really shouldn't do, if only because it's the type of stuff in movies that'll get you killed. That is not good advice. Also, I did make a video on how the Jedi are really the evil people of the story, and it was a while ago, and I've actually thought about it deeper, and honestly, I think I have some more new things to say, even some better things to say. So I may be making a new one of that. And also, I did make one on how Avatar in Avatar The Last Airbender is actually the evil person, but I may do another one on that titled something like, oh, why the gang are someone you shouldn't root for, or why the Fire Nation is less evil than you think. But part of the problem with this new search optimization for my videos is it at first caused me to freak out, fearing that some of my videos were taken down, if only because I've done a lot of controversial videos, and someone could get offended like a little bitch and red flag it, and then it would be a pain in the ass. I mean, I'm too small to actually get, for example, to get the ad revenue, but if my video was taken down, it would just be a pain in the ass. And honestly, in this climate, people will always get offended, and I just really hope that none of them get taken down. And I like talking this controversial stuff. I may have a new political video out for you, probably something like reasons why school voucher programs or faith-based initiatives are wrong, don't work, some shit like that. And another one, my fuck Amazon video was very popular. Another overrated company I might want to do is fuck Disney and fuck Starbucks. So that's a channel update. Like, comment, and subscribe if you've not done so. This is Sean Hartnett, wishing you a good day.